This is the second battle Iraklis sent from the Wolf Flash tournament. He is commanding Iceni in this battle. So he has 6 chosen swordbands. On the flanks he has 2 heroic nobles, and he does this quite a lot, keeping his general on the flanks there. Levy Freeman in support, so double line infantry. Then he has his veteran riders, heavy melee cav with light armor. He has 4 veteran riders, and these Britain slingers are better than your standard slingers. 23 missile damage, higher AP. So he has, let's see, 4 of those. Diplomats, Nervii. Mercenary Germanic Scouts, Fear Swords, Oathsworn, Fear Swords, Oathsworn, Fear Swords, a bunch of Levy Freemen in the front, and then some Celtic Slingers, also some Mighty Horse. In terms of abilities, these Iceni we have some more Fear Swords and Fear Swords over here. So in terms of how these units stack up against each other, if you look at the Mighty Horse has more armor than the Veteran Riders. The Veteran Riders have more health. Both have a 10 bonus against cavalry. Veteran Riders, much lower melee attack. And same amount of weapon damage. Melee defense is the same, so should expect the Mighty Horse to do well against the Veteran Riders. However, the Veteran Riders are better against infantry due to them being heavy. So Mighty Horse would do a good job in stopping these Veteran Riders, but the Veteran Riders would do a better job stopping infantry. And the Heroic Nobles are worse than Oathsworn. They lose to Oathsworn. The Chosen Swordband has a nice combination of stats. 29 charge bonus, 75 armor, 60 health. Their morale is a bit low. So the Fear Swords have better melee attack, they have a better charge. However, let's see here, they have better morale as well. Their armor is quite low and their melee defense is quite low. So they do rely on getting great charges in. Whereas these Chosen Swordband in Shield Wall, they can hold for a long time. So I've seen Iceni win against Nervii more than I've seen them lose against Nervii. I don't know if that's the reason why we see this matchup. I don't know who picked factions first and so on. But Iceni, a decent faction to bring against the Nervii. But Nervii isn't bad against Iceni. Levy Freemen taking fire here. This is of course what you want. You want the Levy Freemen to take the Slinger fire, so that the very squishy Fear Swords do not take the skirmish fire. And when the Levy Freemen start turning their backs like this, they are going to take casualties. So now the fire hits both of these units. The Britain Slingers are decent for their price. They're just not very durable. Higher damage potential, but the same defensive stats as other units. And this is going to be interesting because we have an Oathsworn over here and an Oathsworn over here, while we have 2 Chosen Swordbands here. Being pulled back now, the Mercenary Germanic Scout Riders firing into their backs. This is not good for the Chosen Swordband and for the Heroics. But the Veteran Riders run in to support. And looks like we're going to see an engagement over here. Yep, the Chosen Swordband coming in, the Veteran Riders. Straight up engagement, Fear Swords against Chosen Swordband. The Chosen Swordband loses decisively on the charge. This Chosen Swordband is going to get slaughtered. So Burugnatus using Fighting Spirits. I don't quite see Fighting Spirits having a use at this point, making his units unbreakable. Maybe that was a misclick. Maybe he was trying to use Force Concentration. The Mighty Horse getting slaughtered. It looks like the Heroic Nobles are going to get the charge on the Oathsworn. So that was incredibly important here. But there is Fear Sword support nearby. The Britain Slingers are losing because they're being focused on by Celtics. Let's see here, the Veteran Riders losing decisively. The Chosen Swordband winning, although they're fighting both Fear Swords and Levy Free. The Chosen Sword is now winning against the Fierce Swords, and this is what I'm talking about with these engagements. The Fierce Swords win on the charge, and then they get hammered pretty bad, and that's happening all down the line here. So now Force Concentration is being used, increasing the attack values, but I'm sure that was a miss micro, using Unbreakable that early. So the Heroic Nobles are now attacked in the rear. Tired, the Oathsworn are losing because they're fighting Veteran Riders and Heroic Nobles. Now Heroic Nobles are coming in against the Oathsworn, trying to save their general, so the Oathsworn are going to take a beating now. Levy free against Levy free. The Oathsworn in the center, trying to get at the Briton Slingers. They are taking fire. They've taken quite a few casualties. I don't see any free cavalry from the Britons. No, there's this Veteran Rider, but pulling it out means it's going to die. So here you see the Chosen Swords winning. Both Chosen Swords won against their respective Fierce Swords. So that's very important. That's why it's just so important to have the better mid-tier sword units, because now these two units are free to support any fights they should choose to support. Throwing precursors here. The Mighty Horse is going to die. The Chosen Sword Band, 104 kills, very nice. The Oathsworn are of course going to slaughter them. But the Oathsworn getting sandwiched here, or just they are going to die. But look at all the Iceni units required to defeat this Oathsworn. Quite a lot of units. Now the Veteran Riders can pull out safely now, because the Levy Freemen were killed. So mostly skirmishers remaining, and this Oathsworn unit. But this Oathsworn unit is in shield wall, and the shield wall has formed up a bit weirdly. So the Chosen Sword Band, they're attacking them in the flanks like this. Germanic Scout Riders getting destroyed by Levy Freemen. Should see the same thing happening over here. Levy Freemen taking a few casualties on the charge, but that 25 bonus versus large is going to kill a lot of Germanic Scout Riders, just dropping. And now the Nervii general has recently died. We're going to see the morale problems start to kick in. And look at all the Iceni left on the battlefield. Very, very, very decisive in terms of tournament battle, that is. So it says it's a Pyrrhic victory, equal amount of men deployed, 1200 kills, 1000 kills, but the amount of men remaining, I'd say that was fairly decisive, because if you look at what Iceni had remaining, Nervii had remaining, Celtic Slingers mostly, and Levy Freemen remaining, mid-tier swords remaining, so you can see the Fierce Swords overall do worse than the Chosen Swords. The Oathsworn actually there were 3 Oathsworn, so that's quite interesting that this Iceni army was able to do well against that. The Slingers didn't do too much. They got some experience, so maybe they were firing on Oathsworn. The Celtic Slingers did a decent job, but of course they were all that was left in the end. So a battle that highlights the importance of just having a solid line of mid-tier sword units, because it's nice to have the charge ability of these Fierce Swords, but once you start limiting melee units, if with normal rules, you have Celtic Warriors, Fierce Swords, and Oathsworn. You can even just have Oathsworn and Celtic Warriors. However, with rules that limit the amount of melee units, a faction like Iceni starts to become a lot better, although they lack Oathsworn and although they lack the Celtic Warriors. So Greek Iraklis is advancing in the tournament, defeating Diplomat. Strength and honor.